This first guest is a supersonic supporter with enough energy to power this entire panel. He's a globetrotting gamer, a sharpshooting savant. He's the jet-setting juggernaut, the king of the kill streak. The redemption arc continues. It's Dub.
Oh shit, I couldn't find my mute button. Fuck yeah, guys. I can't wait. It's great to be here. If you checked it, I'm going to be on the Wildcard EX1 event, hosting it with Paul Bettner. The city doesn't fucking sleep. We keep going even if we don't have a job. This Web3 game is inevitable. Thank you.
Let's go. Dude, I see my boy Fino in the crowd. Man, I love Fino. Fino and the YGG boys are arguably like the coolest people I've ever met in my whole life. Shout out to the boys.
I'm still wearing the jersey. Day 5.
That was giving Dub one of those jerseys was a mistake, man. That thing is going to smell rancid by the next time we see him at GDC. But shout out. It's an incredible piece of merch. Up next, he's the man who made Macau the mecca of poker, a master negotiator who's not afraid to ruffle a few feathers and call out the gutless wanks. He's a risk taker, a revolutionary, a visionary with a vendetta. From Meiji, it's Sinjin.
I'm the biggest motherfucking asshole you will see, courtesy of Gnoc. Love you, Gnoc, you dirty capitalistic bastard.
Yikes. All right, buckle up, Buttercup, and the next guest is a legend in the making. He's soared through the competitive Fortnite stratosphere with 11 games, snatching victories like a hawk with his 4 world championships. But a trophy case like Larry Bird's wasn't enough. He's now the head of business development at Magic Eden, the NFT marketplace where the real treasure is his brain. Welcome, the Emperor of Esports, the undisputed ruler of RuneScape. Give it up for Gnoc.
I was supposed to miss these intros, but Sam told me he had a banger, so I had to come, and I got hit with a double whammy. I got some Sinjin heat off rip, too. Should be a good one.
God bless. Jerry is going to miss the intros. He's down bad on a flight right now, so we move on without the big Jerry Bear. Yeah, thumbs down for the kid. This next guy's got more hustle than a honey badger in a hot dog factory, a whirlwind of wit and wisdom, a veritable veteran of video games with his passion for Super Smash Bros. And Balatro. He's a stud business developer at Avalanche, and he's built like an ox big enough to carry Web3 gaming on his back. You know, it's Wills.
And you can add Monster Hunter to that list as well, because holy fuck, it's good. It's so good. Get around that, boys. Highly recommend. Stoked for today. It's going to be a good one.
Hell yeah, dude. You love to hear it. As if I needed more time sinks. God bless. All right, this next guest is a legend of the gaming world. Not only a top 30 parallel player, proving his mastery of TCGs, but he's also the mastermind behind Dungeon Siege, a game that's slain more boredom than a social media algorithm. He's also the crusader of the collectibles, leading the charge for a future where gaming blueprints are owned by the players with Project O. So let's deal him in, because the table isn't set without Kevin Lambert.
Damn, you had form and function. Got all the stats right and beautiful intro. Happy to be here. Jamming for GDC, where we're going to demo our game at the Wolf's Den, and excited to share that with everybody soon.
Oh, baby, the world first reveal at the Wolves Den. I'm insanely excited for that. Thanks again for choosing to do that with the boys and girls, of course, the barky people. Prepare to be pulverized by the presence of a paragon of parallel. He's the co-founder of the trading card game that swept the timeline and Las Vegas into a frenzy this past weekend. He's got 3 games and a revolutionary tech product, but mostly he just wants to rock climb. He's the karaoke king, the champion of the cards, and the prince of parallel. It's Kohji.
What's up, guys? I gotta say, Jerry is a fucking champion, man. I don't know if you guys know, but he's like secretly a party animal. He talks to like he's all like introverted and shit, but like at every single one of our events, I would just be looking in the corner and he would just be like absolutely raging and like stayed the entire night. It's crazy. I wanted to leave and he was still there. So I'm getting a lot of thumbs down here, but you guys are dead wrong. What a champion.
Yeah, the thumbs down in chat is kind of wild, but I'm glad you gave the compliments to Jerry before he showed up, so we don't have to boost him.
No,
I don't want him to
it was
hear it.
Jerry's fucking birthday, and he didn't even tell anyone, dude. That's a fucking L in my book.
He partied with me all night that night. On his birthday. He chose to party with me and do my shit.
And didn't say shit the whole time. Like, come on, buddy.
I
we
still
know.
showed him a good time, man.
We could have been at Chuck E. Cheese, dog. That's all I'm saying.
We were doing shots with half-naked ladies at some sort of weird karaoke bar, so I think he had a good birthday.
Jesus Christ. All right. Before we stray further off the rails, this next champion emerges where gaming gets gamified. A multi-time founder who aims to allow you to forge your own games with the flick of a finger across Telegram World app, Telegram. I said Telegram twice. Telegram World app and Farcaster at the flick of a Jesus Christ. I'm off the rails too. You guys, the Jerry birthday thing threw me for a loop. Okay, he's the czar of the small screen, the wunderkind of Warpcast, the founder of the Farcade. It's Charlie Blackstock.
Jerry's ruining the space already, and he's not even here yet. Boo, Jerry. Boo. Oh, dude, I'm so fucking sick from ETH Denver. I feel like all these sweaty techners need to learn to wash their hands. Stop getting everybody sick.
God bless, dude. God bless. I know Peyton is currently projectile vomiting, so he's not here with us today. But he did say that was because of his own family, not because of Vegas. He was like they were already just eating their lunch all over the house. So I think that was not the sweaty nerds, but instead the sweaty children. Our next guest is a force of nature, a veritable draconic diva who breathed fire into the Parallel World Championship this past Sunday, where she hosted the grand finals. She's a Twitch titan who survived the unique badge of honor and frustration that is getting swatted on stream. And she's the queen of the keyboard, the goddess of gaming, and the caster who's always on fire. It's Alliestrasza.
Yo, draconic diva. I haven't heard that one before. That was fucking awesome. Yeah, super stoked to be here. Literally just had one of the most one of the best weekends of my entire life. I can't wait to talk about it. And yeah, let's get to it. Amazing. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you back, Allie. It's been too long. And of course, last but not least, leaping from the lush depths of Lizard Labs, it's the lean green space hosting machine weighing in at a whopping 2.4 pounds. Put your claws together. It's the little lizard legend. It's Lambs.
It's woof woof from this little lizard today. I'm not going to go with the GMs. Gotta keep that woof going strong. And yeah, we got some woof allos to drop today as well, Sam. Is that right? I see people already woofing in chat.
That is right. You love to hear it. I think I got approval for 5. I'll see if I can squeeze a couple more out for the lads in the chat. Appreciate you guys chiming in. We love a good woof woof, but at Gamified, we extra love whenever people contribute to the discussion. Let me know what your favorite intro was today. Also chime in on the first topic, which is going to be about Marvel Rivals and some of the layoffs they've been having, as well as the Parallel World Championship coming up after that. But real quick, got to give a word from our sponsors. Get ready to howl with excitement as we welcome the Alpha, bringing the blizzard of benefits with a flurry of fantastic games. It's Avalanche, the leader of the blockchain blizzard, the one and only official chain of Gamified. Wolf and the Wolves now are en route to the chain known for its frosty and formidable L1s to dive into the firefights of Off the Grid, conquer the competition, in Shadowline, or enjoy the nostalgic world of Maple Story. So why aren't you? Get your own L1 today. And of course, gamers, get ready to go gaga for Game 7, the gaming giant that's giving growth a gigantic boost. They're not just building bridges, they're blasting through barriers with brilliant blockchain breakthroughs. With Summon, they're conjuring the secret sauce to keep players glued to their game. And with Hyperplay, they're hyping up the portal to instant Web3 access with no friction, just fun. Thank you to them for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. And get ready to blast off with Star Atlas, the official game of Gamified. It's a sensational preseason spectacular. Right now, you can plunge into a galaxy of captivating content, explore exotic exoplanets, engage in exhilarating expeditions, and experience the evolution of gaming graphics that'll redefine the cosmos. Get a game key to the preseason by joining the Star Atlas Discord right now. And let's jump in. What's the word? Marvel Rivals, layoffs, some of their team despite some success. Marvel Rivals has already reached 40 million total players, 250,000 in the last 24 hours, ranking it number 6 most played on Steam. Last week, it was sitting in the top 3, only behind Counter-Strike and Dota. The game is clearly doing well, but in the last couple of weeks, some sad news that US devs working on the game have been laid off, despite it being a ridiculously massive hit. The article on VG247.com mentions NetEase CEO William Ding apparently didn't like the idea of paying Disney for the license to use Marvel characters and considered up to the last minute redesigning the characters prior to release just to avoid paying their licensing fees. This makes you wonder, could the game have still been successful without the Marvel IP? And what the word is for Marvel Rivals laying off some of the team despite the success here. Let's go over to Dub and then to Kohji.
The word is a couple words, and it's nobody's safe, baby. Better fucking run. Look, we all know this space is like getting freaking racked up right now, and studio closing left and right. Even success right now doesn't mean that it looks good in the near future. And it's very much with games. It's about building the game, figuring out what live services are, and supporting that live service team. So like, clearly the devs that were let go are not part of that future plan. They feel like they can make it, and it's a smart move given the current landscape of the space. But yeah, I mean, fuck. they're doing everything they can to survive, I think. And if they didn't have the Marvel IP, like this definitely would be a wash in the pan at this point. We're seeing clear DAU spikes around like other Marvel news and stuff. Like I know the movie brought a bunch of more people in, and then all new characters left and right. And if those weren't Marvel things, like no one would give two shits. That's why Overwatch 2, like despite their pivots, isn't seeing like crazy growth, right? So yeah, do what you can to stay alive. Otherwise, you'll end up like a dead studio. No one wants that.
Dub, I mean, why be Marvel rivals whenever you could be Concord? You know, why, it just doesn't make sense. Kohji,
Exactly.
Kohji, over to you.
I mean, the word is capitalism. I think Dub hit it right on the head there. It's they're sort of shedding all of the developers that helped build the game and now just keeping people that they need to maintain it as a live service, maximizing profitability. I think maybe this tells a tale about how much they plan to expand in the future or how quickly they plan to expand in the future. But that's basically what it is. They're just trying to maximize profit and potentially runway and all these other things. And, if you want to take the cynical view, maybe it's just like they're beholden to shareholders and Disney and whatever to like show as much green in the books as possible.
I think Spang had the hand up next. Wills, what's your take? What's the word?
I'm going to give the Gnoc special with the hyphens, and my word's going to be business as usual. I think that this is pretty standard. And I don't know, I'm not sure where I read this, but I'm pretty sure the team in the US that was laid off was only like 6 people. So it's not a massive crash down. Feel free to shoot me down if that's incorrect. But yeah, it seems like, cutting down the margins, taking what you need to. I mean, they've got a successful game. I think the big worry for them now is, are they going to continue to make money? And I think that they're taking the conservative approach. I mean, at the end of the day, survival is the number one thing. If you can bring in, if cutting out a team of 6 people is going to help you, and slimming down is going to hedge against the potential for this game to be a flash in the pan, as many were worried it was. I think that that's the smart call. And also, you got to remember, NetEase is a giant corporation. This is not even being flagged internally as a big deal, I would assume, because they've got hundreds of other games and hundreds of other studios to manage. So this is probably a studio within NetEase keeping an eye out for itself and taking care of itself, which I think is good in the long haul, because the better studios take care of themselves, the better we get to see, the more we get to see better games do well. And me and Jerry were talking about this over the weekend. If you read Press Reset by I forget the first name, but something Schreier, it talks about this stuff, and the realization that this is kind of just the nature of the industry. People move on, get laid off, companies have to downsize after big releases. That's just the nature of things. But obviously it's sad for people to lose their jobs, and wishing them all the best.
Yeah, dude, Press Reset was one of the most depressing reads I've ever had. It was like it was just like chapter after chapter of story of studios laying people off even after having a bunch of success. Really painful stuff. Let's go over to the Titan of Taboo, the kingpin we have in Asia, over to Sinjin.
Exploitation, man. That's the word. My American brothers, and they're just getting the boot after setting it all up. And that also shows that these fuckers are not planning on really expanding this game. They think they got the winning formula. They're milking it for all they can. Fuck Marvel Rivals. Fuck NetEase. Like if your game is, you guys are acting like this game is like suffering that they're gonna like run out of runway or whatever like that. How much marketing and how many skins they're pumping out, man? These guys are just minting it right now. This is purely like whether it's political or some like petty cost saving, or the fact that you can say, okay, well, the game's done, so we're going to like live ops. Or you don't need the game designer, the game lead, right? That means that, what are you going to do move forward with the game? And like that Press Reset book is very important because it also shows, like the industry's kind of fucked because like you spend 4 or 5 years on a game, 6 years on a game, and then you get the boot when it gets to live ops. And I can understand like if it's not going to be profitable or they're not going to be downloadable content or there's not going to be expansion, right? But to do it so early, it just seems really weird, and I think that's why it's making the rounds. Even if it's only 6 people, it's pretty senior people that seem to have gone the boot here. I'm sure Kevin can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I know at least one senior was given the boot. So fuck those motherfuckers for exploiting white American labor.
Plot twist at the end there, but I do want to send it over to Kevin Lambert. Kevin, what does the CEO here of NetEase have to gain by saying this after the fact? Like they're sort of in the pocket, fully moisturized, living their best life, printing money, and he goes out and says like we don't want to pay this license. It seems like there's only downside here. Am I wrong?
Well, let me give the word first, and then I'll answer your question. So the word is fact check, because I think there are some perspectives on who is actually let go and where. So I'm in a games industry forum on Boomer Book on Meta. But anyways, I'm in there, and these are got a lot of game industry folks chattering about this. So of course, when this article comes up, it gets posted, and everybody's like "friggin' bastards" and all this. And then there's some people who are a little bit closer who said, wait a second. The team's primary development is in China, and the word is that only localization, R&D, and or marketing folks were let go, not the core team, not the people who made the game great. But obviously the whole studio made the game great. So I think and I don't know because I don't know anybody on the team. Sounds like Sinjin knows a senior person who was let go, and maybe in what department they were in, what their contribution was. So there could be shenanigans afoot here, but I think we got to fact check this because everybody reads this article and there's like corporate greed. Here we go. Business as usual. F those. Games industry sucks. And I think there's some truth to that. But I think the devil's in the details as well, as far as who got let go. But back to your question now. Can you repeat it? You were said, not wanting to pay the
Yeah.
license. Like, why would you say that? Can you say it again?
Yeah, exactly. What is there to gain from the CEO's point of view to come out and say this? Is he trying to position and get more leverage against Disney or something, or is this just somebody sort of shooting from the hip?
It feels like a 4D chess move to me because it does sound like something you would never want to say from the hip. Like, what do you have to gain? So I can't claim to know the inner workings. I mean, there's a world where it could be like, hey, our game is good enough to stand on its own. No, seriously, and we were ready to do that. We don't need Disney, but I think that's very questionable. I don't know that the game would have done as well as it did without the IP. I don't know if any of you guys agree.
I can't imagine it would do as well. I think the math would be something like whatever they're paying in licensing fee, would it be slightly better than what it costs? So if they're paying 40% of all profit or something out, and they could have been 80% as good, maybe it's still okay. But I don't even see that. I mean, with Concord and Overwatch 2 and stuff struggling so badly in this genre, I really think it being Marvel is part of the success. But that's just me. Let's go over to Chuck Stark, Gnoc, and Jerry in that order.
Yeah, to piggyback off Kevin, this is an annoying word, but speculation, kind of a cop out here. But a lot of it is like we don't really know the inner workings. A lot of these companies, it does sound like they're just organizing and bringing people onshore, especially in China. It sounds like that's where a lot of their main development was, and so it sounds like a lot of like how we feel about it is purely speculation on the company, how valuable everybody was. And a lot of this stuff is super complicated. So I think to me, it's like we don't really know who was let go and for why, other than the team was in the US. And I think it was just a really spicy news article because of the game's success, but we have no idea really what their individual contributions were. And it feels like on the surface, and after everything I read, it does seem like it actually makes a lot of sense, especially since their entire team is in China. So that's kind of that's what those are my thoughts.
Knock over to you, brother. What's the word here?
Capital efficiency, baby. They are definitely not scaling down and they're definitely not abandoning this game. Every esports organization and their fucking mothers are announcing or about to announce a team for Marvel Rivals. There's going to be a league that gets announced in the next couple of weeks here. Sentinels just announced that they have a team. FaZe Clan will be announcing shortly that they've got a team. A couple of other teams will also announce their teams. There's a league coming. What they're doing here is they're cutting down expensive pay from Western devs and groups of people. There are a couple of senior people that were let go, but for the most part, Kevin is right from what the rumors are. It was mostly marketing and auxiliary folks. And it sounds like a lot of that spend will go in towards sort of propping up this league. But I can assure you with 100% certainty, and if you do not believe me, go check Sentinel's Twitter. there's a league coming. They just announced the team. They're about to kick things up. Marvel Rivals is definitely not going anywhere. It just feels like this was a team that helped them get to the point where they are now. Looks like they're trying to pivot. Is it shitty? Absolutely. You don't want to see anybody get laid off, but this isn't a team that's walking away from a game. This isn't abandoning the game because it's live. It's gearing up very clearly for some form of esports effort. And we'll see how that plays out. It's probably not going to be a great thing, but nonetheless, teams are starting to announce that they have picked up rosters.
That's why he's the resident emperor of esports, always keeping his ear to the ground. Appreciate the alpha there, Gnoc. Awesome to hear. Jerry, tagging you in for the first time. No Pants Jerry, the Golden Fraud, whatever other nickname.
Whoa, why do they call me that?
No Pants Jerry. There's a whole story in Singapore that I don't think we can cover on the air. Koji can confirm.
Oh, dude. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. That guys, dude. All right. That needs more context. That I feel set up. Okay. The
We'll double back. We'll double back.
I'm in an
the word?
airport right now. I got Sinjin talking about I had to get the AirPods out. He's talking about labor exploitation. You calling me no pants Jerry. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the word is gaming. And it's just shit's just brutal, right? It's just a hard industry. It sucks, dude. Also, I mean, listen, I'm a marketing guy in gaming. This is just what happens to us, dude. You knock it out of the park, you hit a home run, you ship something to the masses, and then they go, "Well, we've proved it out at the we're a live service game now. You did a good job, but we don't need you anymore because we have mind share and people love us, and so see ya." And it's just how it goes, man. It's not the first time. It's not gonna be the last time. Listen, we here in Utah, we have Avalanche, not the Web3 Avalanche, who stole the name from the Web2 guys who built Hogwarts Legacy, knocked that game out of the park. They waited like a week, they fired the whole studio, right? So it just happens. It sucks. We're in a brutal industry.
Real talk there. All right, Spang, going back to you for one more comment, then we're going to move on.
Oh, I was just going to say I've got another word, and that word is Reddit. Because a lot of this sentiment does strike me as very Reddit. As a Zoomer, I'm a full-time Reddit hater, and I think that when a game blows up like this, especially in that kind of community, there's always hate towards the developers. Like God, if you want to see Web3 hate at the absolute maximum, go scroll through any Reddit gaming subreddit. It is a tough one on the eyes, but it's you got to contextualize this stuff and understand what we're working against here. It's the mob, and the mob's going to want what the mob's going to want.
Yeah, if you don't want to go on Reddit, but you want a similar experience, just ball your fist up and then slam it into your own face, because that's what it feels like reading gaming Reddit.
A little bit on the nose with the parallel squad here today, as we know some of the history there. As we move on, ruled out in the comments, he says, "Woof woof, the best intro was for Gnoc, a brain that is the true treasure," quoting a little bit of the end there. He's going to win the very first Woof allocation. That leaves 4 more for the squad. Thanks so much for participating. Already 73 comments, a bunch of retweets. Next one that we give out is going to go to somebody that retweets us between now and the end of the next topic. So thanks so much, guys. Parallel World Championship, it's time to talk about it. Big deal, little deal, or no deal. I want to hear what your favorite thing was about the weekend. You could also talk about what they could have done better. How big was this event for Web3 gaming? But mostly what I want to understand and what I want people to get a taste of is sort of the contrast between how it felt in person and how it felt on the timeline, and sort of the different pieces of perception here. Also, there was an AVAX day where we played some off the grid and Shadowline. Some notorious internet problems there that were the fault of nobody on the floor except for the HyperX Arena, which is last I checked not a Web3 organization. So on a reverse shout out to those guys for fucking some things up. But with that being said, really want to get perspectives across the board here. Let's go to Dub for a quick one that we're going to tag in Alliestrasza.
Yeah, the World Championships personally for me was like the second biggest deal of my life, and the first biggest deal was like something way more important. But the reason why it wasn't because like, oh, they did this esports thing, they're proving that it's worth it. For me, it was like the community like really getting together. Like there's so many people like at least 10 of them that came up to me and was like, oh yeah, I'm Dot, or oh yeah, I'm so and so, and like fuck you and all of the Cathari you play. And I was like, you know what, fuck you too, that I love to play it. And like getting to finally hang out with those guys and spend time with those guys, and then just hang out with Kohji and the team and celebrate the whole thing, like looking back on it, it's an event that will never be replicated, at least for me. Like it's too good, it's too small. Like when they grow and be bigger, it's never going to be as good as it was, no matter how hard they try, because like these initial special things are good because of the personal relationships that are there throughout. I imagine watching that from home or whatever definitely doesn't translate. A lot of the like most special moments for me were in between games and whatnot, and like getting to hang out with the YGG guys and talk to them and do that whole villain arc. And then especially for me, I got to work with Jake Lucky and his team covering this whole event, and getting to take people like Ali, Icy, Coop, and walk them into Jake Lucky and intro them and do an interview, and really let him get the download of what Web3 gaming is. Felt so fucking cool, dude. And we had the combo of like how RuneScape is like Web3 gaming, and he fucking gets it now. And like, I think moments like this are going to be just huge for us going forward, because we're taking major Web2 incumbents and KOLs and bringing them to our side and explaining to them what Web3 is, and that it's not just meme tokens and scams. It's also great games and awesome communities.
Great stuff, Dub. I want to hear from people in the comments as well. Even if you weren't there, it's important to understand how it was perceived externally as well. I'm sending it over to the Draconic Queen. Let's tag in Alliestrasza.
Yeah, a Dub, super well said, by the way. I echo everything that you just said. But man, I don't even know where to start. I do think it was the best gaming event of my entire life. And that's saying a lot, because I've been doing this for almost a decade, and like I've had some pretty cool experiences, guys. I've competed on stage at BlizzCon. I've traveled to Shanghai, Germany, Australia. Like I've been to a ton of shit, and I've had really amazing experiences. And this truly was my favorite. And Dub said it, but I really think the reason for that was the community. And the most ironic thing of it all is that, from the, you know, outside looking in, the Web2 naysayers or whatever that have, kind of come after us over the course of this, journey of parallel, it's like the ironic thing is the people are the most wholesome group of people I've ever fucking spent time with. Like the quality of the conversations, the heart to hearts, like it was just truly something so special. And it was like pinnacle, like karaoke on the last night. I can't tell you, like the experience of seeing like Fino, Tyler, um, Lambie, like I haven't seen those guys in like 7 years. It was a long, long time, and seeing everyone just like, the camaraderie singing together, it was just truly, truly incredible. And I will speak to like Yarla winning was also fantastic, because he's a name in the TCG community that carries a lot of weight, like a lot of traditional Web 2 TCG players like respect the hell out of him. So the fact that he won the whole thing, I think that's going to proliferate to the greater TCG community. And yeah, I mean, it just was truly incredible. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is, okay, so short answer, big deal. And it was like one of the biggest things was that it built the enthusiasm to continue playing the game too. Like I want to speak to Lambie's tweet that he just like sent out earlier this day. He was like, is this what you call post worlds euphoria? Like basically he got home after 18 hours of flying, and he's like, all I want to do is jam more games right now. And I think that's really what this event did, is that it solidified like we're in this, like parallel, like is the game absolutely in its perfect state? No. And that was also an incredible thing, is that giving like Veen, we were able to give feedback on like the design of the game. He was so receptive and everything like that. But it was just like we're in this for the long haul. This was an amazing first event. Like, we are enthusiastic. We can't wait for next year. Like, that was the conversation. So like, where's next year's world championship, folks? Like, that's the vibe. And yeah, I can rant on it forever, but it truly was just such a special event, and I will literally cherish the memory for the rest of my entire life.
Incredible to get it from a decade-long Hearthstone veteran that's been around the world doing the circuit already. Appreciate so much you coming, Ali, and also all the support that you've brought to Web3 gaming, even outside of Parallel specifically. Obi-Wan Benobi has a great comment. He said, externally, feeling so much FOMO every time I hear you guys talk about the Parallel event. It sounds like it was truly groundbreaking in a moment where Web3, excuse me, where you can say, quote, I was there when this happened, unquote. I couldn't agree more with that part. The entire time, you kind of felt like you were part of history, the first ever, and I can't wait to be able to celebrate that in the years to come. Just a little bit of context before we move on as well. I believe there's already been a commitment from the Echelon Foundation to do $1 million contributed to the circuit next year, and then $2 million to the circuit the following year. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. Forgive me if it's not, but they are supporting the scene. I want to go over to Kevin Lambert, who's a big Parallel fan but wasn't there on site, and get perspective on how you perceived it from the timeline.
Bunch of hacks up on stage is how I perceive. No, I'm just kidding. And did you say Hearthstone? Can we get a formal ruling from Allie, who I think is probably the most expert in the category? Is it Hearthstone or Hearthstone? Okay. Judges, please.
Look, it is Hearthstone, but I'm pretty sure that Kriparian, okay, I'm pretty sure that he says Hearthstone. He was like the biggest creator, so it's whatever you want. But in general, yes, I'm gonna agree with Kevin. It's Hearthstone.
Thank you for your just ruling, Ali.
Yeah. So okay. So that funny side aside, this felt like a Web 2 esports event. The more than anything else I have seen since I got into Web 3 and Web 3 gaming years ago. This was the first thing that felt like product market fit at a grand scale. People wanting to be there for the experience, all the things we hope that someday we'll get to. You know, this was it. This was the first glimpse of that, which I think was awesome. Excellent job, Kohji, for everything that you and the team did for that. It really did feel like that. I remember watching Ali play, stream, and cast Hearthstone back in the day, and here we are at the exact same place in Web3. And then on top of that, she says the best experience of her life. Insane. Right. And the other thing I'll say about it is that the production values were very high, which is something I really like to see. It's like, quality. Somebody cared about quality. They didn't cut a lot of corners. They went hard on the production quality of the event, of the space, of the casting, of the streaming, and the system setups, like all the little details that you need to pull this off. It was all there. So huge deal. Towards the inevitability that we're all hoping, Sam's going to be right about.
Well, more on that in the second half of the show today. Money Plane, who works for the Echelon Foundation, says Sam said $1 million commitment, and I almost had a stroke. My bad. I'll pull that one back. A 2-year commitment, but millions of dollars committed. Jerry, you were also there. Sending over to you next, brother.
Yeah, no deal, because they didn't bot their stream numbers. And they foolishly gave people one thing to bitch about, and people bitched about it. So Kohji, fucking run a tighter ship over there. No, man, this is it's a huge deal. I I think Parallel is one of a handful of teams that could have pulled something like this off and not been laughed at for it. And they pulled it off and did it to a really professional, high standard. And I think this is, obviously this is the first of many. I think people that are finding the small things to complain about are just miserable and want to complain about anything, because this is something that is, I
Oh. Did he rug? All right, yeah, seeing some thumbs downs. All right, we're gonna double back to Jerry. There's a great comment from Saigo. He says, "Dropping my opinion here while I wait for
What they
Jerry the
do
Fairy Fresco to
in
come
the
out of the
show.
airport." Oh,
Did I lose connection? Am I back?
This guy's in the
yeah,
fucking
sorry.
upside down right now.
I am. I'm. Yeah. Am I back?
Yeah, you're so fucking back, Jerry.
Yeah. I just want to say last thing. Like, no matter what the person's role is on the parallel team, they're an all-star at it, right, dude? They're like their finance people rock, dude. They're fucking like QA people fucking rule. So yeah, I'm walking away with so much more conviction in what these guys are doing. And maybe the biggest deal of all is that I'm not really a TCG player. I had multiple pros offer me free lessons, so I'm coming in, Kevin. I'm get ready to get your ass kicked.
Great stuff. To finish, Saigo's great comment. He says it was a big deal not because it did numbers, but because it marks the first chapter in a fucking unreal odyssey that's about to unfold. Be the change that you want to see has never been more real than this weekend. Banger comment from Saigo. I'm going over to Chuck Stock, who is at East Denver, to get some contrasting opinions here. And then we're joined by the legendary Fino, who I'm excited to get his perspective to. Let's go over to Charlie first.
Yeah, so I was at ETH Denver, so this gave me as much FOMO as missing GDC last year. I was so bummed not to be able to come to this because it looks so fun, such good people. And I thought it was a huge deal. Like seeing people like Jake Lucky and everybody talking about it and having such great things to say. It made me really proud. And Parallel's always been one of those teams that's super fun to root for. It's I'm sorry, I'm dying over here. But you love to see their success. You love to see them do stuff right. And my absolute favorite thing, which I can't believe no one's talked about, is Kohji coming to America, celebrating his Second Amendment right with those finger guns, the greatest finger guns you've ever seen. And it was just a great moment. And I think it was a huge deal from an outside perspective and something that I know I'll regret not being able to participate in because it looked that awesome.
Yeah, edging Kohji while he struggles to defend his finger guns after the World Championship. I'm gonna go over to Fino, who I know is also with the legend Tyler. The boys at YGG or from YGG, excuse me, are at the Grand Canyon right now, I believe. I hope you guys are enjoying it down south. But what was your interpretation of the Parallel World Championships as pros that have been around the block a few times in other card games?
Yeah, hello guys. Yeah, so basically we're just still together in Vegas with Tyler and DC, and yeah, I mean the event was just amazing. It was to me, it was one of the most awesome ones because the people were so real. I think it's because it's about the people. Like at the end of the day, I've been to so many Hearthstone events like Tyler as well, and we meet a couple of people that are like cool and like we hang out with. There's so many people that you're not vibing with this, but in this one, it felt like I just wish I had the energy to speak to everyone. Like if I had the energy and the time to speak to everyone there for like multiple hours, I would be down to do it. So for me, that was like the number one thing that kind of stood out, just the atmosphere and the people, I would say. Yeah, that one was just amazing. I mean, Yarla winning was great. He's like super hard working like TCG player, I feel like me and Tyler also realized that we didn't want it as much as the other people. Like you see people like Zelly or Yarla, like they just wake up, they play all day. It's crazy. Like I don't think you guys really understand how crazy these people are because we've kind of experienced it more like practicing with them. But like people like Zelly, we go out for dinner and they speak about the game. Like that's a crazy thing. Like we don't really do it that much. We're more interested like in other things as well. But they're like so passionate about it, and it shows, right? Like they put so much time in it, and it was just amazing to see everything come together and just meet everyone. And I'll just never forget it. I think it was one of the most special events I've been. And yeah, I also agree with the point that was made that someone said that you should appreciate it while it's small. I think that actually had a lot of merit to it because I feel like once it gets much bigger, you could see. I mean, I want to say that I hope it's still gonna be as wholesome and great, but it was just a great thing to see it going, to get going, and see everyone get together and meet everyone. It was just an amazing experience.
What I have to kick in to piggyback off what Fino just said. Great to see you again, Fino, by the way. The one thing that separates Web3 gaming from Web2 gaming, one of the best things, in my opinion, is the closer relationship between the developers and the community and the players. You do not have that in Web2. If you watch the top Web2 streamers of any game, they're like, yeah, and I hope the team is listening because I don't know, and maybe they'll take this feedback. and you just feel like you're throwing that all into the void. And this is one thing that I does hope scale, even in the case like Fino mentioned, like, yeah, I appreciate it when it's small. When it gets bigger, maybe it won't be as tight knit overall. But what I do hope stays is the relationship between the developers and the community, because that's the difference between, we're building together, and that's what I hope stays even when we get gigantic and inevitable.
Fantastic take there, Kevin. Let's send it over to the man himself. Let's tag in Kohji, one of the co-founders. I know this was really special for him to. We saw it all in that finger gun picture that will haunt him forever. Kohji, what's your take on the Parallel World
Well,
Championships?
I can address what Kevin just said really quickly by just saying that that will never change, because Kalos literally reads every Twitter comment that has ever existed about Parallel and then posts it in a channel that we can all see. So I promise you that that feedback will just keep going straight to the top, for better or worse. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about the whole thing. It was crazy. I don't have a best moment. You know, it was really nice to hand the trophy to Yarla before. You know, as he was winning the championship, I whispered in his ear, "Bet it all on black." I hope he doubled it up. And just to like meet all the players, hang out with everybody, get to know them a little bit. Like obviously, or not obviously, but I have met um Fino and Tyler before, and some of the others, but this was my first time meeting some and just having everybody in the same place. And I can't confirm what he said, because later after the championship, a bunch of those guys were in my hotel room, and they could not help themselves but strategize about Parallel and theory craft about future cards, and it went on forever. Like that is literally what they do for fun, some of them. So it's kind of insane to see, and it is like very wholesome, and we have really built a community. So many of the community members and players, um, Tyler and Fino among them. We talked about going climbing. Unfortunately, I got a tattoo, so that didn't happen. But like, it isn't just about, hey, play this game, win this championship. Here's the money and whatever. It's like, no, let's hang out, let's have dinner, let's have a good time, let's, whatever, sing karaoke. And you know what? I do have a favorite moment actually. My favorite moment is when Tice showed up at karaoke and he was just like, I got to leave early in the morning tomorrow, so I'm just gonna sing one song. Um, and I'm like, what are you gonna sing? And then he's like, okay, I'm gonna sing Bon Jovi, and he absolutely rips it, and it was incredible. And then I'm looking around like 3 hours later, and he's still there ripping karaoke songs. So, I know that everybody had a good time, but yeah, it's very special. The whole thing is like unbelievable. I hope to recreate this vibe for years to come, but there's gonna be nothing like the first one for sure.
As always, Koji's focus remains on the people, not the problems, and you love to see it. I'm going to tag in Gnoc, but real quick, I want to remind you guys the next WOOF allocation is going to somebody that retweets the space. Give us some love. Drop a quote tweet if you like what you're hearing. Share it with your friends, and I'll be giving that out at the end of this topic. Gnoc, what was your take, brother? It was great to have you there. Your first live event since your health incident a few months back. It was really, really special for me and a lot of the gamified family and some others to be able to see you in real life, healthy as a horse. But what was your take on this event as an esports event and as an esports veteran that's been to a lot of these?
Yeah, couldn't have been a better event to come back to. Was a lot of fun. I won't rehash too much. I had a relatively long post yesterday, kind of maybe discrediting some of the people who were discrediting the event. But I'll kind of start with maybe some of the negativity and get it out of the way first. People seem to be overly concerned about the spend relative to viewership. And I think, you know what? You're right. From a ROI perspective, was it worth the money that was spent? Probably not, right? Did you bring in and attract new players? I would say almost certainly not. But that's not what these types of events are for. This is a game that people have been playing for the better part of the last year and a half, 2 years. You have native talent to the ecosystem. You have people like Ali, who we know have been major fans and have participated in a number of different things along the history of Parallel. And then it's sort of this culminating event where at the end of this tournament, you have people and stories and things that we care about, and it's a showcase of all of those things. So Ali being on the desk, we understand the significance of what that means for the game and what that means for Allie and what that means for the community. You're talking about guys like Yarla, who maybe was a little hesitant to play the game and recently had a heartbreak a couple of years ago in a world championship in a different game. Coming to this game, falling in love with it, becoming the first winner. We had Zelly, who was a little bit of a villain to his own teammates in a previous event and had an opportunity to do something ridiculous, which was run the entire lower bracket after being eliminated in the first match, which would have been incredible. He goes up 2-0, gets reverse swept. These are the types of stories that matter to people who care about games. If you're a surface level sports fan, you turn on the TV, you check the score. Oh, wow, the Leafs won tonight, right? But if you're a diehard, you care about the stories. You care about where these players come from. You care about knowing that there is a path to having a career in a particular space. And I think that that's what this team has done incredibly well. They've shown that if you spend the time and the effort and you create content and you make relationships within the space, you might have a career as a caster or a commentator or a face of the game like Allie. You might have a career as a professional player. There's something to play for beyond just playing the game and hoping some form of show match pops up, which is what we see a whole lot of in traditional esports. People want to compare it to things like Apex Legends or Valorant or Fortnite, but I think that that's the wrong comparison for a bunch of reasons, most of which have to do with the amount of money that those companies dump into artificially seeding the community in those games. In Fortnite, it was $150 million in year one. In Valorant, it was sitting down and having conversations with 30 organizations in North America and saying, we're going to have a league in a year. You guys need to show us that you can participate and drive value towards that league, and if you do so, then you'll come in. There was incentives that were very clear and laid out to make people want to play this game for a specific length of time. And what happened in Fortnite after year one, when that prize pool dropped off, a lot of those pros left. In Valorant, now that VCT is a thing and the teams who got into the league got in, the ones who didn't, everybody who didn't make it in is for the most part out of the space, and there are a lot of teams that don't have rosters or don't have organizations anymore. Compare it to something like Rocket League that starts a decade ago with a relatively small group. You've got tiny teams that most people in the space will never have heard of. Teams like Mocket and Flipside Esports and iBuyPower Cosmic, teams that go and compete for championships. And then 4 or 5 years later, you see the big tier one organizations come because there is a grassroots base. There's a foundation. There's a reason for somebody to pick up the game and hopefully become pro and hopefully drive value to an organization. And today, unlike pretty much every other major esport in North America, there are more orgs in the tier one and tier two category in Rocket League than there has ever been. And in Valorant, there are fewer than there's ever been. And it's two conflicting paths. A game like this needs to highlight stories. It needs to highlight the players in the community. And that's what this was for. It wasn't about viewership. It wasn't about user acquisition. It was about the parallel team doing what they have been doing all along, giving back to the people who make their thing fucking possible. Kohji says this all the time. He didn't think anybody was ever going to play this game, right? And you have an event like that. It's a special moment for those guys, for sure. And you could see it on Kohji and Sasha's face as they're sitting there watching the final match. But it's a special moment for the players and people like Ali who are creating content and people like us who've been seeing and wanting this game to succeed. Was it a major commercial success? Probably not. Does that mean it won't ever be? Absolutely not. And most importantly, there's already an additional 2-year commitment. So if you saw what happened this year and you feel like you missed out because you didn't see and you weren't able to participate and you weren't in that top 16 at the World Championship, you've got 2 more years to figure your shit out and hopefully get in at least. That's a lot more than most people in esports can say.
Yeah, dude, sitting there watching the finals and turning around in my chair to see Koji and Sasha just having a moment watching it together was one of I think it was my favorite moment, to be honest, because I was like able to live vicariously through them for like 10 seconds and just sort of appreciate what an awesome moment that must be for two people that I really care about. And hard to put a value on that. Let's go back to Fino and then to Wills.
Yes, I just wanted to mention a thing I noticed about the whole event was like how much passion there was. Because I feel like I've been to a lot of these events, and what I mean by passion is like even production, like even the people in the production or the admins, they've been through us kind of like the whole time, the whole year, and like you see how much like care about it. Like I feel like when I was in Hearthstone, for example, and I would go to these events and I would talk to people there, everyone was just doing the less like least amount of effort. They wouldn't really care. They wouldn't even listen to you. They would be like, I have to do this. Why are you telling me to do this? Like, it's kind of like they wouldn't listen. So I feel like what I noticed a lot about this, and I feel like what kind of made the event successful to me, was how much people were into it. Everyone from the casters, from the players, just from all over the place. Like, you could see that people were passionate about it, and I think that's kind of what mattered a lot for like the success of it.
Yeah, Tyler here. Uh, me and Fino have been like reflecting this entire weekend. Like we went to the Grand Canyon, we've been walking there for a couple of hours and just constantly talking about how special this event was. And we came to the conclusion that basically we agree on everything, right? I just share his sentiments, so everything he said is also my opinion. But I also wanted to share that yes, this first one was small and it was a tight knit community and it felt close and maybe it was special because of that. But I don't want to limit ourselves and think that way that the next event can't be better and can't feel just as tight knit, right? I just think that we set the example and we should that everyone know that this is how we're gonna do it. And like you go to the event and there's like people showing up and they give you merch and there's like people in the community making their own merch. Like it was like it's Bolts gave me like a parallel coin that he made himself, and it's like you feel that the community loves the game, and that's because the game is good. Like we all just enjoy playing the game, and sometimes like the people in Web3, they're so caught up on token price and all this that they forgot to actually judge the game, that it's actually a good game that people want to play, And I feel like that was something that you could really feel when you were here live.
Awesome to get you chiming in as well, Tyler. Appreciate both of you guys for making time for us today. Let's go to Will's, then I'm going to send it back to Kohji and Ali.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I was going to say has already been said. It was an amazing event, and it's a huge deal. I mean, I couldn't be there and not kind of think about all of the events that have kind of led up to this, and how crazy it is that, like, if you had told me 2-3 years ago that this is what Web3 gaming was going to become, and this is the scale that it would reach, because it really is rising tide lifts all boats. Like, this is the example. Parallel has come in and said, if you're going to do esports, you're going to do it well, because that's what this space needs, and the bar has been raised. And I'm excited to see what they do in the future and what they're able to bring to the esports table. And I can't say enough about the Parallel team. I mean, we were there. We had our own day. We had off the grid Shadowline beforehand. It felt like an event. It wasn't just the championships. It was a celebration of Parallel, obviously, but Web3 gaming as a whole, and how far we've come. And to get back to that kind of point on, why are we here? We're here to fix gaming. There are so many problems in gaming, and like, the evidence is right in front of us. The pros from these other games that have been having issues with the games and haven't felt heard and haven't felt engaged with, they're coming to the games that engage with them. They're coming to the platforms that make them feel like they have a say in how the game is made. And I've been saying this for a while now. People want to engage with their games, and Parallel is leading the charge on how to do that, how to engage with your players, your audience, and make them feel heard and make them feel a part of the community. So massive congrats to the whole team, and excited for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say shout out to Avalanche for helping them make this possible as well. Let's go to Kohji, then to Ali, then we'll move on from this one.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. Anyone who thinks that this event wasn't worth the ROI doesn't really appreciate how much I really need people to pretend to like my ridiculous fashion, and um, how much friendship is really worth to me. Like, there's so many people that I met uh, at this event, or solidified relationships with during this event, that, like, it's unbelievable. Like, I was gonna stay in Vegas another day, and Allie and Mason were like, you know what, we'll extend our trip another day and hang out with you. And I'm like, uh, I know that people aren't just playing the game or casting the game or whatever. This isn't just a job. Some of these people are definitely my friends. I got to watch Mason play TDR, which is like one of the most mind bending experiences of my life. He's absolutely incredible. It's like unbelievable, actually. I don't think anyone I know is as good at anything as he is at that game. It's kind of crazy. Um, And yeah, I mean, finally, I just wanted to shout out to the other games that were there. I think that like without AVAX and all that came with them, this event wouldn't be nearly as fun or exciting or as amazing as it was, right? Because like, yeah, it was our world championship, but you know what they brought to the table made it just feel like a Web3 gaming event. So like, shout out to all of them, except Coop, who wants to fight me at. Because I don't know, he doesn't like that my game's on 3 chains or whatever, but I don't care. I'll fight him any day of the week. But yeah, I don't know. This experience has been amazing, and yeah, more next year, even bigger, even better. And there's been
Kochi,
some talk about where it might be. Vegas, let's go.
is Vegas soft though?
Fucking everybody in Vegas except Jerry is soft, man. I said that at the top of the show. You weren't here for it.
Oh,
You weren't here for it.
wow. Well, I also have a massive ego that needs to be pumped up. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna go over to Jerry's house and I'm just gonna hear this playing on repeat. He's just gonna have that first 10 minutes of Kohji glazing him just on rerun for the rest of the year. I have to, and that quote about you needing people to validate your ridiculous fashion. We were at Top Golf literally a day ago, and this 55-year-old woman that is working at Top Golf comes up to Kohji and goes, I really like that sweater. And he's wearing a sweater that was the Pot of Greed from Yu-Gi-Oh! Which was incredible. Just an amazing interaction to witness firsthand. Alliestrasza, over to you for the last word.
Okay, I want to take a second to throw Jerry under the bus. Jerry, what the fuck? You didn't tell me it was your birthday? We had like a moment at karaoke where I was like, yo, Mason and I think you're really cool. And like, you could have taken that opportunity to tell me, by the way, it was my birthday this weekend. I'm mad at you. I'm going to give you shit for it at GDC. Moving on though, I wanted to just sort of make the point about like community lore. Like Gnoc said something about like this was about highlighting stories, and I think it's important that you need to like create lore for your community. You know what I mean? Like why invest in esports is because like that's how you build your stars. Like you build your stories that you can follow and get really excited about. So I feel like, even if it was a loss in some areas, like it's worth it to create this narrative for the game. And I think that's something that like new games really struggle with because they don't have the history, right? So it was super worth it in that. And then on the subject of it, quote, being, a loss in some areas, I actually like if any of you guys haven't read Swish's post, I just want to direct attention to it. I quote tweeted it like on my page. So if you scroll, you'll see it there. But Swish leads growth at Parallel, and he made a great post. And I just want to say a quick little excerpt from it. He was like, I want to make it clear that this event was a resounding win in our eyes. From an operational perspective, we ran this tournament on an almost break-even budget. That's kudos to Fitch and the incredible sponsors. And it's just like, I really think you should read that post. It was very well spoken, and it just kind of goes over, addresses it being, an absolute win from the team's perspective. So that'll be the last thing. It was an amazing experience, and that clearly was evident from everyone's words about it on this. So thanks, guys.
That's awesome. Thanks, Ali. I've got to give a huge shout out to Swish. I pinned up that post. Go read it. Go celebrate the boys. The Badgie is going to win the next WOOF allocation for. He's been dropping some great tweets as well as gave us that coveted retweet. He says the fact that a group of randos from Web3 who had only ever interacted online met at an event and instantly became best friends speaks volumes. And then he says ... just a bunch of bots, and then a laughy face because that's of course a little bit of the lore there. Got to give a huge shout out to our sponsors who also overlapped with a little bit of the sponsorship at the event that we were just at. Avalanche is the official game of Gamified, and they're taking Vegas by storm. They already took Vegas by storm. A cryogenic kickoff had Shatterline and Off the Grid going crazy, two of the hottest games on the coolest chain. We were conquering the cold with cutting edge technology in a community that's as frosty as it is fierce. So bundle up, bring your A game, and get ready to experience the #1 gaming chain in the business. Of course, MapleStory also a part of that chain. We announced a MapleStory X Wolves DAO collab just yesterday, which we're all super excited about. And giddy up, gamers, get ready to gallop into the Game 7 Nation, the glorious gaming galaxy, where players are packing a punch. They've signed over 150 games and have 30 million wallets ready to rumble with their mega MetaMask partnership. So come join the digital nation and get your citizenship so you can level up your life. Thank you to Game 7 for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. And this isn't your average space sim. This is a cocktail of stunning visuals, deep strategy, and player-owned everything. So build your own spaceship armada and explore uncharted worlds with your friends. But Star Atlas isn't just about spaceships and lasers. It's about building a community, a galactic civilization where players write the rules. So if you're ready to bring your boring Earth life for a cosmic adventure, join the Star Atlas fleet today and hop into the Discord to grab a game key. Thank you for being the official game of Gamified. All right, guys, quickfire. Delusion or prophecy? On January 31st, okay, just over a month ago, I tweeted that in 3 months, we will have all-time highs in Web3 gaming. Am I a delusional? Am I a peasant in the eyes of King Sinjin over here? Or am I a prophet? It's up for you guys to decide. Kohji has the hand up first. Delusional or prophet, Kohji?
Probably delusional, but I'm gonna go with profit anyway, because I think that if we're gonna exist in this space and do what we do, which is either build games or run spaces and promote these things, push the narrative, you have to believe that this is what's going to happen, that this is the truth, right? Like, if you don't actually believe that this is going to be successful, then what are you doing here? If you're like, oh no, we're all fucked, like, just go somewhere else. You know, if we're fucked, jump off the ship before it sinks. But like, I think we all believe that like gaming's the future, so I'm going profit, man.
Dude, I agree with that. I'm so tired of people tweeting about how Web3 gaming is dying and it's over and we're fucked, and then taking money from sponsors or from marketing budgets or from whatever, and just like, I don't know, phoning it in. What the fuck are you doing? If you don't believe in it, get out of here. Go somewhere else. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Dub, over to you. Am I delusional or prophetic, brother?
Bro, ride hopeless delusion into the fucking nether, dog. We're gonna be fine. Friday, we're gonna have no capital gains tax for Americans, and then they're gonna drop every American in ETH. They're all gonna spend that on fucking wildcard and parallel, and we're gonna ride into the fucking abyss, dude, as prophesized. Thank you.
The abyss sounds a little negative at the end there, but I do like the idea of Daddy America just giving me an ETH shout out. Let's go over to Chuck Stock. Delusion or profit?
Yeah, you're a prophet, my man. I so something at ETH Denver that I thought was really interesting was I was at dinner with one of our investors, and they just come from another dinner with like A16Z, Stripe, and like a lot of these like pretty heavy hitters. And the sentiment from all of them and institutional money was extremely bullish. Like a lot of them are very excited by the next few months of like everything that's being built and everything that's going on. And so it feels like there's a huge disconnect between retail, crypto, Twitter, and I think like overall sentiment of like, institutions and other people. So I'm super excited about this space. It's the most legitimate this space has ever been. There's a ton of great builders, a ton of great products, and a lot to be really excited about. So I totally believe that, this stuff is going to swing. And when it swings, it's going to swing super hard. And so we're going to see all-time highs very soon here, baby. Let's go.
I want to hear from you guys in the audience. The next WOOF allocation is going to somebody that tells me if I'm delusional or prophetic. And just to be clear here, no bias. You can call me delusional. You still might win. I don't need you to glaze me. I just need you to give me a great comment, maybe a little bit of a reasoning why I'm full of shit. Jerry, over to you.
I'm tapping in for Jerry Bear here. It's like on the mic. I just got so amped up hearing Kohji and Sam kind of and talking about this. Sam and I were kind of talking about this last night. There's almost like I think prevalent imposter syndrome right now in the space, and like it does not allow anybody to feel like we can go be the things that we want to see the space become. So I was so excited to hear Kohji kind of go out there and defend his case and talk about how we want to create the space that we want the industry to move into, and Parallel took the first step in doing that today. Oh, Sam, your peon. Sorry. Yeah, call him. That's what Jerry wants me to say.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Ruled out, who won a WOOF allocation earlier. He says Delulu, but we've made a lot of Web3 progress so far. Avax and Ronan leading the charge. I'm going to Kevin Lambert. Kevin, we've got 2 months left on this prediction. I'm saying we're hitting all-time highs. Am I delusional or prophetic?
Ooh, you put a time scale on it, man. I want to say this show is so great. There are so many quotable moments that I have T-shirt ideas that I need to print from things that people have said on this show, and now I have to get "We're riding off into the abyss" on one of those T-shirts. Thanks to Dub, that was awesome. That's so quotable. But I think you're gonna get all the Delulu responses and hate every time the market is down bad and it's in a correction right now. So it's totally natural that we're getting that sentiment. Um, Absolutely. I've been saying since 2017 that it's inevitable and we're going to get there. And I can broken record this much longer than the haters can hate. I can outlast them. I would bet my career that it's oh, I already have. Okay, well, never mind that. But yeah, it's absolutely inevitable. In 3 months, will it be there? Is that what you asked?
Yeah,
We're definitely getting there.
For clarity, the tweet was on January 31st. I said, in 3 months, I'm going to quote tweet this whenever gaming is at all-time highs. So it's just over a month ago, which means we got 2 more months to find out if I'm full of shit or not.
Oh, I don't know if if the bags will get to all-time high, because that's external to gaming, which which will cause that. But Web3 gaming is inevitable. You will be quote tweeting that and saying "I told you so," you gutless wanks, to the rest of the world.
All right, let's go over to the creator of Gutless Wanks, Sinjin. Am I delusional or prophetic here, brother?
Can I say both? I mean, I think you're prophetic in the sense that, like, it's never been better for builders who have been building for the long term, but that's the crux of it. Like, Parallel doing the esports event and the successes that they've had, and not being the shiny new thing, but being the real pioneer. I mean, what is their effect like overall, like on other Web3 trading card games, right? Has there been one? Has it been like uplifting the market? And my thoughts is that there's going to be one or two games that are going to move their genre, but this idea of like the market being up and our bags being up and stuff like that, I think there's no more speculator money. Maybe it's going to come back a little bit, but we are the dysfunctional, ugly stepson, whatever, in the crypto market at this point, right? But I think, will there be like really strong winners, and will it define Web3 gaming in 3 months? Maybe not in 3 months, but within like maybe a year, absolutely. So I definitely have so much hope with it, but not going back to the shit that it was, but something a lot better.
I would love to see it. Justin Lucas says prophetic. It is always darkest before the dawn. Black Panther says you're prophetic, Sam, my goat. Love you, buddy. Altered State says if you're delusional, then so am I. There are too many good products with experienced teams coming to market, all gunning for GDC. Maybe speculation in the near, but definitely a bright future. You love to hear it. Icy says I can stay bullish longer than you can stay solvent. Shout out to the GME. We can stay retarded longer than you can stay solvent. One of the greatest quotes of all time. Let's go to Will Spangler. Then we're going to tag in Gnoc.
Yeah, no, I mean, Sam is obviously a prophet. Praise be upon him. Satoshi speaks directly through him. We all know that. That's a given. But on this specific case, 2 months, I think talking about all-time highs, are your old bags going to go back up? No. Are new bags going to enter the arena and give you the option to make more bags? Absolutely. Like, I think, we often get wrapped up in talking about tokens in this space like they're just like they're tokens in any other, but they're not. And that's what we've been talking about for 107 episodes, is what make gamings unique and the stickiness that these games have. And we're really starting to hit our stride on real games with real applications for their tokens, and new games dropping new tokens that have applications. And I think we're going to really start to see with Maple's story, with Guns, and with all these other awesome projects coming out, what real gamers do with these tokens. And that's what I'm excited for. I think, you know, we're definitely going to be in a new era in the next, I'm going to say 6 months. I'm going to say 6 months. But I think it's all up from him. Always love a cheeky Sam prophecy. Praise be upon him.
Praise be upon him. Just to be clear, and this is not specific in the tweet, so I'm not blaming anybody for maybe misinterpreting it. But I do agree with you guys. This doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be riding, you know, Sandbox to a $5 billion market cap again. What this more so means is if you take the Web3 gaming market cap, which I don't know, it's around like $20 billion or something. I think we will be at an all-time high from the perspective of that market cap as a whole. Not necessarily all the old bags will go to all-time highs. Let's go to Gnoc, then we're going to go to Lems.
You're prophetic, Sam, but not for the reasons you think. It's gonna be fucking sand and mana that run us back to all-time highs. I can promise you that.
God damn it.
It's the first thing that
Gnoc.
always moves every time the market moves. It's never gonna fucking change. Get used to it. Cry, but it's gonna happen. Listen, I would like to believe that this is the case, but we live in such a fucking strange time right now. Like, there's like a 50% like chance that tomorrow during that crypto summit or Friday, whatever the fuck that is, it's like, hey, we're moving all of our US dollars directly into Bitcoin and that'll be great for the market. Or like, hey, the entire strategic reserve is Trump. Like, we don't know. It's so every morning it's like fucking waking up and spinning the wheel. And I think that that is an issue for gaming because we are absolutely right now today beholden to macroeconomic conditions. We're beholden to the overall conditions of the majors within crypto, and we're probably the category within crypto that has the absolute most volatility, especially when things are uncertain in things like Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana. So I want to believe it. If you are right, it's not going to be the way you want it to be. And if you're wrong, which is probably a little more likely, that doesn't mean that we're not going to hit an all-time high this year. I just think right now there's just way too much uncertainty, especially like from a leading country like the United States. We have to like play this out. And I think it's an important thing to remember that we are still absolutely tied to like macroeconomic conditions when it comes to the broader crypto industry. Gaming has a lot of volatility. So I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping you're right, and it's not mana and sand, but it's going to be.
All right, not financial advice, but you heard it from Gnoc first. Gala's going to a $40 billion market cap. Congratulations. Excited excited for that terrible team. Obi-Wan Benobi in the comments says, I would say delusional because anytime we predict these all-time highs, we tend to hear the opposite way. I think it's too soon to be hitting all-time highs based on your time scale, but I do think we will get there by the end of 2025. Lems, do you agree? My friend, am I delusional?
Why did you bring up Gala? I forgot they existed. Man, it was bad enough dealing with the sand and mana like prediction from Gnoc, which is definitely accurate. Yeah, I'm going to say prophetic. Maybe the timeline. You know, well, actually, I'll say it first. You know, we talking about prices or vibes? Because if we're talking about vibes and we go like rewind back about half an hour to that parallel love fest, like, you know, your prophecies already come true in like a month. You know, but in a couple more months, we have some more things like that. Then the vibes could be back at all-time highs. Pricing, you know, we'll see on the timeline how it looks, but might have to stretch the 3 months out a little bit. But it's coming, as we say. You know, it's inevitable.
You love to hear it. Thanks everybody for chiming in. Congratulations to Obi-Wan Ben Obi for winning that WOOF allocation. Couple more to go. Keep chiming in, keep retweeting the space. Thanks so much, guys. Agree or disagree? Greed is killing crypto games. Over the last week, we've unfortunately had a couple of studios shutting down. The Mystery Society suspending development, and Chris Heatherly, the CEO, had some hot takes on the current state of the industry. He said, quote, greed and stupidity from just about all players is killing the space before it can prove itself. We need to be focused on building healthy on-chain businesses first, and then end this TGE to nowhere Ponzonomic fallacy. Bars. Every Web3 gaming founder I know is frustrated, burnt out, and just doing what they're doing to survive, but with true conviction evaporating by the day, unquote. We also saw Valeria announce that they were out of funds last week and announced that they were shutting down. Illuvium announced restructuring, cutting about half their team to extend their runway. Is this a fundamental industry problem and misalignment between the founders and the Web3 participants, or is something else here the problem? Agree or disagree that greed is what's killing crypto gaming. Let's go to Gnoc, who's throwing that thumbs down around like it's his job.
You know, when Valorant was starting, a lot of CS:GO players came over to the space, and for the first like 6 months to a year of that title and that competitive scene, all you would hear is that everybody's playing it wrong. This isn't how things are supposed to be. You don't understand how to play the game. You're terrible. You're shit. Everybody else sucks. I'm not the idiot. And then eventually they all ran back to CS:GO, and Valorant is more popular now than it's ever been, and all the talent that didn't know what they were doing are now global superstars. Kohji, how do you feel about where Parallel is? How do you guys think Luke is thinking about Pixels right now? It seems like teams and players in the space who are willing to understand and spend the time to get a sense for what this ecosystem actually wants and needs are doing just fine. And most of them still have a bunch of major catalysts in the chamber that will sort of play out over the course of the next 6 to 12 months. I think what you're seeing, and this is not a direct knock to Chris Heatherly because he and I had a conversation about this on the side, is a combination of a couple things. The industry is brutal. Most games will fail. That's no different in crypto. It's probably just exasperated a little bit because we see everything at a way that we would never see it in the traditional gaming market. We know everything about these teams from day zero, and that's kind of unnatural. It's like founders are in a little bit of a zoo for our entertainment. So that is one piece that is working against them. The second piece that is working against a bunch of teams is the belief that because they figured it out in traditional gaming, they're going to figure it out the exact same way in this space. And the combination of those two things is killer. You're going to see more studios close. Is there greedy people in the space? Absolutely. But let's be real, a lot of these teams and founders from Web 2 had an issue raising money there and came here because raising money here was a lot easier. So I think it's a little funny to imagine that the greed is only on the side of the consumers. I think it's just an unfortunate situation where the market is weird and building in this space is difficult and most games fail anyway. And a combination of the fact that plenty of traditional founders want this game to just be the exact same thing that they left and refuse to acknowledge that it's different, oftentimes blaming the participants for being different than the market that they left.
That's a banger take from Gnoc. You love to hear it. Let's go over to Will's next.
Yeah, I think that this sentiment gives me very much, old man shake stick at God, and that's not at Chris Heatherly. That's just generally what that sentiment is. Because I think greed kills everything. Greed is everywhere. It's human nature. That's why we made capitalism, so everybody can benefit a little bit from it. I think that and this, like, it's become increasingly clear, especially with the events over the weekend, that you know there's nothing to kill. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, we're on the come up. We're pumping juice into this system. We are animating this body right now. And I think that everything that is, the unfortunate nature of the industry, as Nelk was saying, is that a lot of teams fail, but it's the forward momentum that is taking us there. And I've said this before, mass adoption of crypto is something that I think we're all agreement on. It's a date in the future. We don't know when that date is or what it's going to look like, but it is a date. It's set somewhere. And we're all just trying to survive until then. And I think that is the mentality that the successful teams have, is how are we not, but instead of waiting for this prophetic day to come, how are we going to survive until then? How are we going to maximize on the community and on the people who are already here and allow them to enjoy what we create? And I think the teams that do that the best are the ones that are set not only to, capitalize off of greed, but capitalize off of pure gameplay enjoyment and the ups and downs of the space and use it to their advantage. Yeah, I think that, and this is coming from someone who is, definitely not the most, degen enthusiast, but I think that that's what we have to do. There's money in the space to be made, and we just got to figure out how to make it.
Awesome stuff. On that note, I do want to go to a couple of founders here. Let's tag in Chuck Stock and then Sinjin.
Yeah, I feel like you're just hearing a lot of frustration that I think is shared amongst a lot of founders and builders in this space, which is there is a lot of teams building very differently. And I do think there's this weird feeling like if you try to build a company the right way, or in whatever, quote unquote, the right way might be, that you're not going to actually capture like the Web3 degen crypto audience, then all of a sudden you just feel bad. You feel like disenfranchised by the audience and like the Web3 consumers, because you feel like no one really believed in your game or your vision, and they started rewarding a lot of very short-term focused games, teams that are doing just a pump and dump, bot farm to a TGE, and then they have no real vision or any real future. And it feels tough when you're sitting there building so hard, and then you just see teams with these really short-term goals end up just blowing out of the water because they played the Web3 game better. So I don't think this is a reality or a problem with crypto or greed. Like, I just think this is a frustration of a lot of builders. And I think a lot of it is just not understanding that the market and the game that they're in. I think you do have to find ways to allow gamers, especially in the crypto Web3 audience, to participate in the speculative side of building. So um, I think, yeah. So I just feel like when I heard this, I don't think it's that it's greed or short-term thinkers or the consumers are wrong here. I just think it's frustration and from a misunderstanding of the space and trying to attract the users that you want.
Sinjin, I'm sending it to you next. Is that also your opinion here on this greedy players are killing Web3 perspective?
Yeah, kind of like, I mean, like, okay, like, there is definitely that frustration, and you have to understand that a lot of gaming developers who have come into doing gaming studios who have all this experience in Web 2, right? They're not necessarily coming from a publisher background, right? And so there are certain expectations, and Noc's right. I mean, like, was it easier to raise for a lot of these teams with good backgrounds in Web 3? Absolutely. But you play the token game and you get burned by the TGE, right? Because like, did a lot of these guys, when they accepted these the funding based on like an early exit without a game or without revenues being in place or a really game plan to like handle the TGE, like did they really have a game plan? And it's like kind of like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't, in the sense that like there are certain terms. And myself as well as a founder, it's not like I didn't want to get VC funding. It's like the VC funding though, like basically would tank my game's economy because they didn't understand like what I was trying to actually build, right? And I've said this before, like what is necessarily investable is not exactly maybe what is really innovative, right? Because innovation is disruptive. A lot of times people will say, no, that's not right. But like what works in the market, and if your product is the speculation, is basically the TGE and using the gaming as a narrative, yeah, for sure. You want people to kind of understand it, but then where does it leave gaming? The fact that Gnoc says, you dirty capitalist, I love you, but still, he says, it's about the market, and where's the market at for the gaming? But it's not. If you look at any type of game, when the market downturn happens, when it's fucking winter time, when the economy's dead, gaming goes up. Gaming's not meant to be like that. It's meant to be cash flow revenue based, right? And like all this stuff we forget about it, the TG, because with tokens, like we've normalized it that that's just part of it. But the reality is like up to previous to crypto, these kind of exit liquidity events only happened after there was revenue, or at least kept by like a stock exchange or whatever like that. And I'd have to say, like luck and timing is a massive part of it. We can say like parallel, or we can say pixels, or we can say, well, I would say Axie really was Axie, okay. But luck has a lot to do with it, and timing does as well. And anyone who says different is like full of shit, right? So like, if you look at how many teams have really raised enough that they can just do whatever the fuck they want to do and have unlimited runway, that's really a handful, right? But I'll say like what makes Pixels and Parallel with their treasury great is their authenticity. You see it with Luke. He's there, he's posting, he's doing interviews, he's diving deep, Koji is so heartfelt, it's sickening, even though he tries to make it like self-depreciating, it's still sickening. It's just too much love in this room and huggy and kissy shit. But it's all warranted because there is that authenticity. Whereas some other groups that shall not be named, which I've given the benefit of doubt for, they still have a massive treasury, but do they have anything? Do we really talk about them other than like, are they going to fail this time, or how badly are they going to fail, or is this going to really work? And they don't move the needle at all for Web3 at all, right? They're just kind of part of that narrative in the background. Sorry, this is long, but I just got to say, like, you can't discount like what these guys have felt like, because if these guys have come in and they've done everything they can and they still can't make it, or they didn't quite see it, I mean, where's the disconnect here?
Sorry, whenever you hit me with this is going to be long, I expected another 2 or 3 minutes of monologue, but it was great. It was great, Sinjin. Let's go to Kohji, then to Kevin Lambert to finish up this little mini founders roundtable. Then we'll tag in Jerry and Michael.
Yeah, I'll keep it nice and short for you, Sam. Greed in this space is definitely a problem, but it's also a bit of fuel. I mean, if people weren't willing to speculate on our assets early on, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now. So I don't know. It's a double edged sword. You kind of have to like learn to play the game. And I used to try and sort of rally against it as much as possible, fight. And now I realize, like, look, everyone's going to be involved in these things for different reasons, and you just, so long as you have your eyes open and realize, like, okay, these people are interested in this one side of things, these other people are interested in this other side of things, um, and maybe you have to cater to them all in different ways. And certainly focus on the ones that you want to be there long term, but like there are short term gains to be had, and if you can play the game properly, and I think that that's kind of important.
Dude, again, I straight up did not believe it was going to be that short. Let's go to Kevin Lambert.
Sam, I got to tag you back in for 1 second. There was one nuance in the way you asked this question that I wanted to make sure I hit. Can you phrase it one more time?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a heavy one, but let me give you the quote again from Chris Heatherly. He says, "Greed and stupidity from just about all players is killing the space before it can prove itself." I think that kind of encapsulates it. He also says the founders are sort of catering to these people with TGEs that go to nowhere, and calls it a Ponzinomic fallacy. So the question is sort of agree or disagree with Chris's interpretation of what's harming the Web3 gaming space.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And yes, I pretty much am going to align with what most of the other folks have said. And I think it's kind of a little bit of why you're here, but it's also how we have to accept that there are speculators and greed and grift in this space, and we can either flip it off with the middle finger and turn away from it, or we can do what Kohji said, is we can all play the game and consider it part of the PvP that we've all signed up for. But another way of looking at it is we can leverage those folks. They have things that make them tick. They like little speculation, they like little gambling, they like those experiences. So you could, in your product vision, as we have, build an experience loop for those folks, right? And you just have to be careful that you're not doing it in a way that's going to cannibalize the folks that are here for a different motivation, to escape, to play a great game, to socialize with their friends, to get away from it all. Um, when we first started out back in 2021, 2022, and I started getting on Twitter talking about Web3 gaming should do this and that, and I was just getting my start. A bunch of VCs reached out to me, like Lightspeed, and some of the big ones were like, "Hey, are you guys raising? Because we've got funding, and if you're building a game, we want to talk." And I actually, this is rip maybe this moment, but I turned them all down and said, well, not at this time. We're good on funding, from our CEO, who had done a little private round. And so we didn't need anything. And I just turned them all down so that we could do a little bit of proof of execution and also solidify our vision. On the one hand, thank God, because our vision for the game that we were building at that time has changed a little bit from what it is now, because we scrapped some things. But also, I felt very strongly that we were in the trust me bro culture of like, hey, we got this great team and we can build an MMO in 6 months and give us 10 million. I just really didn't want to do that. I didn't want to mortgage our future in that way. So I said, no, thanks. We'll come back, when we have a little more cooked of a vision, which is where we're at now. And, we could have totally played the grift and greed game, but I don't know that. I think maybe it's a moral thing. I would have had trouble sleeping at night if we had done that. And I much prefer the place we're at now, where we're showing little glimpses of the game and vision. They're like, oh, that's what they want to do. Okay. And either you're into that or you're not. And if you're into it, cool. There's opportunities for the Vinny persona experience, and there's opportunities for the Chad experience if you just want both, if you want to do both of those. So um, I agree and disagree with the quote overall. Yes, the actors are here that kind of harm the space, but if you don't look at them as harming the space and instead ask yourself how we can leverage those people, I think there's a way to do it.
Okay, now we're going to go to the non-founders, and I'm going to reframe the question a little bit. We've gotten mostly unanimity against this take from Chris Heatherly, and again, seems like a great dude. Seems like he also is still trying some stuff, which I deeply respect. But with that being said, is there some survivorship bias happening from these founders here on this panel? Is that the reason that they say, oh no, Chris maybe a little bit jaded because his project is failing, and we are maybe a little bit more enlightened here, or is it just a straight up real talk here? Jerry, I'm tagging you in, and then we have Michael Hyun also joining us from the audience.
Yeah, I think it's Chris probably does feel like he's just dropping like some real talk in. And I do think that there is founders who were just in different scenarios. So I don't think Chris is inherently wrong. I think that was Chris's experience, and it didn't work out well for him because Chris tried some of the things that you were supposed to try. He tried the Web3 marketing spend, and he said it was the worst ROI spend he's ever seen in his life. He tried to cater to speculators, but maybe it wasn't the most natural fit for him as a person. And it was a little bit outside of his comfort zone to play the speculator game. But I would look at, I think when I looked at Chris's tweet, I felt the opposite. I think that one of the reasons why, teams are struggling, like the Valias and the Mystery Societies, is because they're not being greedy enough. Because how, if you wanted to, could you spend money in Valyria or Mystery Society? No, you couldn't. And you can spend money in games like Parallel, or you can spend money in games like On-Chain Heroes, and you can spend money in Diths games and the Pirate Nations of the world. If a business can't make money, the business is going to fail. And I think one common thread I'm seeing is the games that are failing, you cannot spend if you want to, or and they're just not making monetization a core focus. And if you can't raise the $50 million rounds, or the things that are gonna you're gonna get over the finish line in one raise, people got to spend money on your game, right? This is business 101, and everybody knows this. So I think that teams just built with they didn't build with revenue in mind. I think a lot of teams built with raising another round in mind, and then that next round never came, and that's why they're kind of fucked right now. So be a little bit more greedy, put monetization, be like Kevin. Every time I'm on this show, Kevin plugs that article. He talks about the Vinnies and the Chads and the Lilies. Be like a Kevin. Be a fucking Kevin.
Be a fucking Kevin. Michael, do you agree?
I totally agree. I feel like founders, whenever they build games, they build it for the aspect of what they're trying to envision, the perfect game. The thing is, you need to fund it somehow, right? So like having stickiness within the game, making it to where even if it's microtransactions, right? Like you produce a product that is absolutely phenomenal and this is everything that you wanted, but you don't ask for money for it. It's like you're giving the viewer the free experience of it, but not allowing them to pay you, right? For your hard work, your dedication, everything that you put in blood, sweat, and tears, relationships, conferences, the time that you placed into it, away from loved ones, and trying to grind a way to produce this as a value. So now there's the opposite side where you're too greedy and you don't have a product. Gala. Right. So like you don't want to be that, right? You want to be within the middle area to where you're actually providing value for your services. Because at the end of the day, you do want to have something that you're proud of and you feel like it's an accomplishment versus you're just trying to rug people, right? You want to produce something that at the end of the day, people are actually happy to use your product or play the game. It's because they actually enjoy it, not just because, hey, look, I have to play, I have to put in $100 every week in order to play this to be competitive. No, it's like you want to be able to have different types of what was it? Different types of players within the game, right? So, for example, in Web3, you also have to look at the investor. The investor is probably someone that majority of the people and companies don't look at in terms of how do I optimize to where, let's say this person isn't a very, really good player. Like for me, for example, I'm shit at FPS now. I used to be like, I thought I was the shit, but not anymore, right? I'm getting whooped over here in Valorant. So it's like for me, it's like if I can invest into Valorant, I would, right? If I can invest into the game, I know that I'm probably not going to be the best player in the game, but the thing is that it's something that's going to be enjoyable, right? One of the games that's coming out is MapleStory. Like when I was 13, dude, I was a market maker on MapleStory. I control the free market in that game. Now, I'm probably not going to be the number one ranked player that's going to be on there because I'm probably not going to grind the most, but I most definitely would be farming some of the, some of the items in there and everything like that to be able to find a separate way. So whether it's going to be the casual gamer who just wants to go on there and hang out with their friends because they like the graphics, right? Figure out a way to make it to where you can also monetize that. In MapleStory back then, there was a thing where you could pay for cosmetic upgrades. So people were, wearing their style and that was a way for them. They didn't play the game in terms of leveling, but they played to hang out. So they would like to get glasses, get pants, all these things. Me, basically, I didn't care about my characters' appearances. Like I had like 50 characters. I didn't care about their appearances for each one of them, but I cared about the in-game items. So for that, during special events and stuff like that, I would spend money because I know that this item is going to be more scarce and probably later on not going to be available, right? So I would spend $10 to get into that event just to get that item. Now, for the ones that are going to be like power levelers and everything, they're the grinders. They want to grind to be the top. So for them, give them perks, monetize it in a way to where they can level up faster, or they can have it to where there's going to be things that are geared towards their gameplay. And if you don't ask for any of this, you're just providing a free service and no one's paying you for it. And eventually, what's going to happen is that you're, you're not going to be able to turn on the servers for them. Now, instead of disappointing just you as a company, you're now disappointing all of your users who actually enjoyed your game.
Absolutely. Thanks, Michael. I know you also have a background in marketing. I'm curious from your perspective, just real quick, as we're finalizing the last topic of the show here. Do you feel like greed is killing, or is it strictly the fact that people are sort of mistargeting this audience?
I think they're mistargeting it. So founders get to a point where it's kind of like desperation, right? We don't know what to do. The game's already out. No one's playing it. The thing is, if you're throwing money into a burning building, it's going to burn, right? Ethical marketers will probably say, look, you probably shouldn't spend this. You know, if it's your last like $10,000 or so, save it for the company. Maybe use it to figure out a way to optimize it to where you can get users back on. Think of community first versus how do I onboard everyone as a Hail Mary. Now, there are marketers in the space that are like, hey, I'll just take that money, I'll bring on some people, and hopefully we'll see if it works. But at the end of the day, it's like everyone is PvPing for the same retention, right? There could be 50,000 games. How do you and stand out in a prolonged period versus a short burst? So I'll give an example. Let's say like Sandbox. All right, Sandbox, beginning of it, there was a few players that come on and it grew to a really big community because people speculated on the token for usage. So people kept on going on and on. At the bottom of the bear, literally there was like 50 daily active, less than 50 daily active users on Sandbox with over $1 billion at market cap. You think about it this way: how are you able to sustain the volume with, I mean, even the revenue side of it, with 50 users playing daily. And then you look at other games like, let's say, Off the Grid. Off the Grid did really explosive marketing in the front. They spent a lot of money. My friend's one of the advisors for them, so they spent a lot of money. The thing is that the industry has to start shifting towards that trend. So like if you start shifting towards games going to, be the hype or kind of like be the narrative, you don't go solo. If you go solo, you're gonna walk alone. You need to be able to work with other games and other industries to actually make it a long-lasting pushing narrative. One of the things that I did at Polygon when I was working with them was create a DeFi summer, and it spread from Polygon, Binance, Avalanche, everywhere, right? Because it was a narrative that everyone was able to push together.
Great stuff, Michael. We got to move on, but I'm going to ask the rest of my panelists that have a hand up. I want to make sure everybody gets their points in, but we do have to do the MVP of the show. I'm going to give away the next WOOF allocation. It's going to my boy here, Expo Nomez, who's been tweeting a lot of support for WOOF, also engaging with the show. Appreciate you, brother. We got one more, and it's going to somebody who tells me who their MVP of the panel is today. Who do you think absolutely crushed it on the show? I'm going to go to Dub next. Dub, what's your take on his greed-killing Web3 gaming, and who's your MVP of the day?
Yeah, I've had like a really sitting back and listening to this topic. I've had a really wild perspective on watching greed in our space, from starting from the consumer's point of view to the content creator's point of view to the guild owner to the auxiliary products to the actual studios and founders, and getting to talk with these guys and see what they do and see what happens. And like greed's everywhere and it's causing problems everywhere, but where it's causing problems the most and really suffering or causing this space to suffer is definitely from the founder level. It's absolutely nuts seeing the things that happened at Shrapnel specifically, and I'm not afraid to throw shots at this point. And like really the founders killed that project, and it wasn't the consumers, it wasn't anyone else that did it, it was their own greed. And like, yeah, personally, I feel like greed of founders is what's destroying the space more than anything else. And looking forward to seeing those bad actors getting washed out and seeing opportunities for consumers to be greedy or creators to be a bit more greedy. Like I haven't seen a single consumer be so greedy that it fucks up a game at this point. Like that just hasn't happened. So ready to be that person and try that thing. Parallel, I'm watching you. I'm buying all the fucking masterpieces and I'm burning them, baby.
And who's your MVP, Dub?
I guess fuck, I was gonna give it to Jerry, but that's stupid. I'm gonna give it to Kevin. He keeps on shilling his personality peoples, and Vinny deserves the win here.
Shout out to Vinny. Gnoc, I'm going to you then to Sinjin.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple twofold, right? The first is we've touched on this like 1,000 times at this point, but gaming is fucking hard, and the idea that you deserve something because you had success in a previous version of the thing that you did, and you come here and you believe that you're better than the other builders here, that you somehow deserve success, I think is ridiculous. So if you fall into that category, get fucked. It's the same thing in traditional Web 2 when a AAA title launches and they blame the players for not wanting to play quality games instead of themselves for delivering whatever the fuck that DC Universe game was. Garbage, get fucked. Like I just can't express that any further. But on the other hand, there are a lot of teams who come here and you know you have a couple options, right? You can be like Sinjin, who posts an article every 2 weeks telling everybody you're a fucking idiot, but here are the things that I think we can do from a Web3 perspective that will fix a lot of these problems. He's very clearly in it, right? You can be like Kohji, who's clearly every step of the way said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I care about the people that like the thing that I'm building, and I'm going to try and build things for those people. We saw it this weekend with the Parallel World Championship. You can be like Kevin, who decided to get so deep into understanding the space that not only do they have a bunch of people who are Web3 natives, KOLs included, on their team, but the man has published a fucking article that he talks about on a weekly basis that is an attempt at literally segmenting and identifying the types of personas that are in this space. You can be like those guys, or you can come to this space and say, well, we've tried nothing and nothing works. Fuck this space, everybody's greedy. That to me is a problem. And I think that there are a lot of founders who fall into that second category. In the case of somebody like Chris Heatherly, You've got somebody who came to the space, who did the things that you're supposed to do, and still had a hard time finding ways to get people to play that game. That's just the reality of gaming. That is an unfortunate reality. Even if you do everything right, if all the inputs are correct, more often than not, you're still probably going to fail. Doesn't mean you didn't do things right. I think it's an unfortunate reality for the space, but there are a lot of founders who fall into those first two categories. We deserve something because we deserve something in the past, and we're not going to try anything. So fuck all of you guys. You're wrong, not us. I hate both of those groups.
Banger take from Gnoc, but who's your MVP?
Kevin Lambert for bringing it up again. I genuinely think it's a great attempt at like segmentation here and understanding users. If you haven't read it, go read it. Go read it. It's really fucking cool. Kevin's the MVP.
Kevin goes 2 for 2. Sinjin, your take and your vote.
Yeah, my vote is Kevin. He definitely deserves it. I don't know how much Kevin knows how much I respect him, but I love to see him on the panel and all his takes and what he stands up for and the fact that he's been very deliberate in his approach, and I think that's great. I mean, I can remember like I think it was like 2021 or late 2021 or whatever, or early 2022. We got on a call together and he reached out to me or vice versa, and we actually talked about alluvium that day, and it was quite a long time ago. I don't know, Kevin, if you remember that, but yeah, well deserved. I want to say that, for myself specifically, what the benefit of speculation has been is that, like, before you launch a game, to get this much exposure, to like get your branding out there, get your lore out there, build some kind of community. I mean, it's huge. In some ways, I kind of feel like in Web3, because of the attention that speculation brings, even if you're not at the forefront of it, it does give you such a leg up in terms of, kind of your ramp up to when you actually launch. But I want to say very clearly to all the like non-founders here, like, fuck you guys. You know how fucking hard it is to design an open economy? And if you launch this motherfucker just for like whatever Web2 revenues, and you don't have all the rails in place and you have a live token, you just fucked your game. Right. And I can tell you straight up, like, yes, maybe certain games and certain founders are like still looking for development funds because they're not looking to get into revenues right away. But this is kind of a system that needs to be in place fully before you do it. Right. And so in some ways, like, I don't know, the groups the founders, I can't really make an excuse for them. They do the TGE without even launching the game, and they do all the DeFi staking stuff, and it has nothing to do with the gameplay. But like, yes, like there are some founders from Web2 who are entitled because they feel like, okay, I know what success is like, and you guys are wrong. I mean, I have to say, like, myself as well, do I think most of you guys are peons? Maybe not on this panel, but in generally, yes. Okay. But do I know that I'm not native to this space? Am I a fish out of water? For the most part, yeah. I want to learn, I want to understand, and I want to be able to say and not have a knee-jerk reaction that, like, fuck these guys, they don't know. Right. I need to know. I need to see both sides of things. And there has been a lot of benefits. And I've tried as well. I think a lot of it comes down to timing and the fact that like some people can vibe and some people can't. And if I said that to myself like 3 years ago, like, man, like, Sinjin, you don't got the vibe for this place. Like, you're just not cool in that way. I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about vibing? What the fuck does even vibing mean? Okay. Or glazing or whatever the fuck everyone fucking says on this fucking panel and shit. And in the industry itself, I get it. But like to bag on the founders, man, like the sacrifice that these founders have given, I mean, no matter what you can say, like, I just, they still have all my respect, and like that's their experience. And yeah, Kevin MVP.
Kevin's 3 for 3. Kevin, everybody's picking you, but who are you picking?
I'm going to pick Allie on this particular episode for being, such an integral part of the community, repping, showing up, and putting sweat equity into this space along with, just, a great attitude overall. I don't know if she's still eligible or not, but, she was MVP of this episode for me.
Absolutely. She would be my MVP as well. I saw her throw up the heart emoji. She had to drop down as a listener a little bit ago, but she's still appreciative. I'm going to send it to Lems next. Lems, who's your MVP, bud?
All right, I'm going to throw my MVP, but I want to have my little rant on the greed thing too. I'm going to glaze Kevin some more over here because yes, Kevin, it's all good having you on the show. And if people haven't read that article you wrote yet, man, what are you guys doing? We've talked about it so many times. Go read the goddamn article. It's great. Um, so just something like I've said many times here, so I'll be repeating myself for those who've listened to previous episodes a few times, like, hey, like startups fail a lot and we're in this like brand new industry with brand new tech. There's no real playbook. So like lots of shit's gonna fail. But guess what? Like greed is everywhere. Like it's not unique to our industry. Like, yes, there's lots of greed in our industry because we're very financialized, but it's not unique to here. There's greed everywhere. There's greed in lots of startups and lots of those startups still fail. And like even look at the games industry. There's lots of greed in the games industry, like without Web3. And look how many games that you know that were good games or good products that ended up failing. Like it's not just because of greed that is because your product failed. You can build a good product and you can still just fail to, make a bunch of money on it. And even though it can be an objectively good product. So that's one of the things you have to like take a step back from. Um, and stop trying to force the market to fit your game. Uh, build for what's here today because you don't know if you're going to survive until tomorrow. Like this whole thing of like the cope that I see a lot of the time is like, oh, we're building for mainstream gamers and mainstream audience, so we're just going to like ignore all the Web3 stuff. It's like, hey, well, did you raise money to build here now? Like, do you need like unless you have a big fat war chest that you can sit on until the point when we've turned a lot of the mainstream gamers to look at Web3, then you need to survive until then. And you probably need to raise some money from speculators, whether it's like VCs based on speculative traction or you're doing mints or whatever. So quit the cope and just get on with it. And like, this is the market we have here today. And it's kind of a new sort of demographic or genre or way people spend money in gaming. That's not the same way as traditional games have been. And stop just trying to force it into that same mold. Anyway, that's my rant over.
Did you pick an MVP?
Yeah, Kevin. Glaze Kevin all day.
Kevin, going 4 for 4 so far. Kohji, are you going to disrupt the streak?
Okay, well, here's the thing. Allie was going to be my MVP because she's always my MVP. And she's not normally on the show. But also, Kevin deserves MVP points for being the founder of a card game and throwing that MVP immediately to Allie. That's a big brain move right there, and I appreciate it because I did this exact same thing. But no. My MVP's Allie.
Ali getting some love. Valheru.f in the comments says Kohji, aka Mr. Gon, is the MVP. Valheru, you're gonna win the last WOOF allocation. You love to see it. Congratulations, man. Jerry, who's your MVP?
Yeah, you guys are all kind of dickheads for not picking Koji. I think I think Koji, brought good takes. Pulled off I mean, I would argue a successful event. And he did take his shirt off at one point over the weekend, and the chest tattoos are real. So it's Koji.
Yikes. That is all I can say about those tattoos. Charlie, who's your MVP?
I'm gonna give it to Gnoc. I feel like Gnoc always just like brings the heat and has so much good insider info, and I would feel like I learn so much every time Gnoc talks. I always like to think I'm gonna give it to Dub, but he doesn't quite make it, so I'm gonna give it to Gnoc.
All right, let's go to Wills.
Damn it, Jerry! I was going to give it to Koji first, but you stole it. Yeah, I think the event for the weekend speaks for itself. Like MVP of Web3 gaming right now.
Well, guys, it's been an amazing episode. Kevin wins the MVP. That means 60 seconds of face time to the Project O founder. Over to you, brother.
Thanks so much, guys. I want to talk about this little article. No, I'm just kidding. I'm never mentioning that again, ever. Thank you, Jerry. I feel like self-conscious now every time I talk about it, but I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, so I guess what can I say? We are gearing up for a GDC demo where we will be at the Wolves Den. And don't worry if you can't make it. There will be video. There will be love. There will be betrayal. There will be tears. Our bot is actually too good, and it's actually beating some of our best players internally. Like, this is hot off the presses from Friday, and we're like, oh my god, we can't like roll this bot into GDC, or people will be like, I don't know, their game is a little hard. So we're actually trying to figure out what to do about that. But you guys will be able to see it, and some PvP, and we couldn't be more excited to share it with you guys. Looks like Tim just released a video that none of us have seen, so hopefully we didn't promise anything that he shouldn't have. But it goes into the history of CCGs and kind of why we decided on a TCG and what experiences we want to kind of capture from physical TCGs that we don't feel like is in the space yet, and some of the newer, more exciting Web3 experiential ownership. That's going to be the catchphrase that you're going to get sick of hearing pretty soon, Jerry. You'll have to tag me on that.
Well, we'll have to look forward to that. And of course, Avalanche is the official chain of Gamified. It's more than just a blockchain. It's a winter wonderland of innovation with $100 million AI fund in a partnership with giants like Gunzilla Games, T1 Esports, and Solo Leveling. Avalanche is breaking the ice and setting the standard for the future of Web3 gaming. So whether you're a seasoned pro, a curious newbie, come explore the Avalanche possibilities and discover a world where the snow never melts and the fun never stops. And I'm calling all cosmic crusaders and spacefaring scoundrels because Star Atlas is about to ignite the gaming galaxy with a pulse-pounding space race where velocity and valor are your keys to victory. Master the maneuvers of magnificent spaceships, mine marvelous minerals, and build an empire that spans the stars. Join the Discord, get a game key, and play the preseason to prepare for a year of stellar surprises in 2025. And get ready to rumble with the gaming gatekeepers who are flipping the script and giving the power back to the players. They're the ones that are turning the metaverse into a melting pot of ideas, a crucible of creativity, and a breeding ground for innovation. They're the ones that are empowering players to take control of their digital destinies, to build their own societies, and to shape the future of gaming. So grab your gamepads and get ready to conquer the next era with Game 7, the official infrastructure of Gamified. It's been an absolutely fantastic episode. Thanks to everybody that joined us. Congratulations to Parallel and AVAX on an incredible event. It was awesome to get to celebrate this for a little bit. Thanks to everybody that joined us on the fly. We had some non-regulars here, and I think that made for a really fun panel. Appreciate you guys. Congratulations to those WOOF winners as well. We're not sure what exactly shape this allocation is going to take. Send me your ETH address, or Lems your ETH address as fast as you can, and we'll try to get you taken care of. And yeah, we'll see you same time, same place next week, 4 p.m. Eastern, every Monday for Simplified, every Wednesday for Gamified. Thanks, guys.